Hi everyone, Omri here. I want to show you today a few techniques you can use to create melodies and harmonies and turn even a simple sequence into something more complex and full of movement. In all of the techniques we will look at today, I will be using the Bard Quartet Quantizer from Shakmat, which is a 4-channel quantizer with lots of interesting and very useful features that we will use today. And the first technique we will look at is using track and hold to sort of freeze your pitch sequences and again create something a bit more complex. Here I have a very simple sequence, an 8-step sequence with a voltage multistage from Verbos. It will sound like this. Right, it's already quantized by the Bard Quartet. Right, so again, a repetitive, simple 8-step sequence. And as you can see here on the Bard Quartet, we have first of all a trigger output. This will trigger the voice I'm using with every change in pitch. But here there is also a gate input that again will act as a track and hold. So as long as the incoming gate is low, the pitch will be frozen. And when the gate goes high, when the gate opens, the pitch will track through, will go through the quantizer, and again this will create something a bit more complex. I will be using the voltage block as a gate source, right? In this case I have 16 steps. I can take a few steps up, so they will be all the way high, right? And then, I hope you can see this here with the light, basically they will output a gate in different lengths, right? So if I bring back my voice here, right, exactly the same sequence. I'm going to connect this to the gate input of the Bard Quartet and then going to set this to receive the gate input and to work as a track and hold, and let's see what happens. Right, so you can hear now there are sort of gaps in the sequence. Right, and the sequence is already longer, but again I have here now 16 steps set on the voltage block and 8 steps set on the voltage multistage, which means that it will be again very repetitive. But if I change the sequence, for example on the voltage block, to be a 12-step sequence or a 10-step sequence even, right, we will get something that is a bit more off balance, right? So now it's a 10-step sequence. Right, and we get something much longer and a bit more complex. Even though the original sequence is just a repetitive 8-step sequence, let's go with 7 steps, for example, on the voltage block. Right, again, this is the original sequence. Repetitive 8 steps. And this is now with the track and hold, freezing the sequence in various places. The next technique I want to show you is using multiple sample and holds to take one sequence and split it to multiple voices. And also here the Bard Quartet is quite useful because first of all we can take this one sequence and chain it to the other outputs, right? Basically channel 1 will be chained to channel 2, channel 2 to channel 3, and so on and so forth. And instead of track and hold functionality like we've just seen in the previous example, we can change this also to sample and hold functionality, so it will take snapshots of the sequence, and again this we can do throughout the different channels. In this case, I have a 16-step sequence coming from the voltage block, again being quantized by the Bard Quartet. It will sound like this. This is now just one voice. Right, again a repetitive 16-step sequence. And first of all, I will turn already the sample and hold for this channel. So I hope you can see this. I have here 3 channels on the voltage block that again I'm going to use as a trigger source. The first channel here set to 15 steps, right? So again, it will go in and out of phase with the original 16-step sequence. So again, this is the original sequence. And now I will activate the sample and hold. On this channel, you can see nothing happens because this needs now a trigger, right? So I will connect it. And now only according to, again, the triggers or gates that are coming from the voltage block in this case, again with the 15-step sequence, only according to this, the pitch will actually change. The sequence will be sampled, snapshots from the sequence will be sampled internally on the Bard Quartet. Right, so now we have this one sequence. Now I have here also the expander. There is an expander module that you can buy for the Bard Quartet. Let me take this down a bit. Which will add more trigger outputs, also MIDI functionality, but also gates and trigger inputs, so I can have sample and hold on all 4 channels if I want. Now again, as I mentioned, now in my case channel 2 is chained to channel 1. So channel 2 will receive, without inputting anything new, it will internally receive what's coming out from channel 1. So not only I saved myself a mult, I also saved myself a sample and hold, because this is also now set with a sample and hold. So this is the second voice. Let me take the first one down. Right, with some panning modulation. And now all I have to do is connect another trigger source. Again, this is set to sample and hold. In this case, I will use the expander. And the sequence in this case on the voltage block is also shorter, it's just 7 steps. And the 7 steps will be, or will sample the 15-step sequence now. Because again, it's receiving it from channel 1. So if I bring in the first voice, right, this is all coming from this original 16-step sequence. We are not only getting something a bit more complex, we are getting even harmony, because they will meet each other at different places with different notes. Now I can do even another thing with the Bard Quartet. Again, we have the 4 channels, and I can choose for each channel different notes that the sequence will be quantized to. Right, so the first channel I can leave as it is, but let's say the second channel I would want less notes or different notes. So now the second channel will quantize to different notes the sequence that's coming from channel 1. Right, now I have here even another voice, which is a sort of a bass with Cohen from Instruo. And I have another channel here, which is a 12-step sequence, right, that I can use again to trigger another channel, another sample and hold on the third channel that is chained to the second one. Right? And this is all from the original 16-step sequence, repetitive 16-step sequence. Right, this is much more complex, and we are even getting 3-voice harmony. Another technique I really like is using a second sequence to transpose the original sequence. So usually what you will do, you will send your original sequence to a mixer and mix it together with another signal that will then transpose it. It will offset it up or down. So you will need a mixer for this. But again, on the Bard Quartet, we have this built in. We have here the transpose input, and it's quite unique because you have 3 different ways of transposing the sequence. You can either transpose it by octaves, or you can transpose it after the quantizer, which will be like using a mixer after the quantizer. But you can also transpose it before the quantizer. So the second sequence you are using, or voltage or signal you are using to offset the original sequence, will also be quantized to the notes you have selected. So here I have a simple 5-step sequence coming from the voltage block. It will sound like this. Right, repetitive 5-step sequence. But I have here another sequence on the voltage block that is running slower, and it has only 4 steps. Step 1 will be the original sequence, step 2 will be transposed, 3 again the original, and step 4 will be transposed again. Right, so we will get some variation, and all I have to do is connect this to the transpose input here on the Bard Quartet, and again it's set to transpose before the quantizer, so everything will stay in scale. And let's have a listen to this for a second. Right, so you can already hear the movement. We have a steady 5-step sequence that is being transposed with a second sequencer, and again everything is quantized because the transposition happens before the quantization. Now we can take this even further and use also the harmony feature of the Bard Quartet. Now this is unique to this module, and basically we have different snapshots, different presets for all sorts of settings, also the notes we choose to quantize. Right, so this is the harmony control, and you can see now it has certain notes selected, but if I go to the second harmony, you can see I have a different set of notes. Right, and I have another harmony set here. Right, so we can add another level of complexity with this, not only by transposing the sequence, but also changing the notes that will be selected. Right, so again, this is the sequence with the transposition. But now I will add also the harmony changes with another sequence from the voltage block, again running a bit slower. Right, now I can add even more voices to this, because you can choose that everything will move together. Right, so I have here another channel that I can use, for example, to sequence Cohen as a sort of a bass, right, with channel 2. And again, they are all sort of connected in this case. So they will move together with the transposition, with the harmony. The last technique I want to show you is how you can use a shift register to turn one stream of notes into chords, into polyphony, into harmony. Basically, a shift register will work similarly to a sample and hold, so it will take a snapshot of an incoming signal with each trigger, but not only that, it will also shift this snapshot throughout its outputs. Now, there are dedicated shift register modules out there, but again, on the Bard Quartet, we have this built in. We have a 4-channel shift register that we can use, and here I have a random stream of notes coming from the VCV random module. So this module will basically output random voltage that I then quantized with the Bard Quartet. So it will sound like this. This is the first voice. Right, basically random notes. But now again, the Bard Quartet is set as a shift register, so now we can use another output, and it will receive the signal from the first output, the snapshot from the first output, just delayed by one trigger. Right, so if I use this, for example, with another voice, we can create harmony of two voices. Just like this. Right, so the first output will shift to the second, and we can go on like this to the third output even, because again we have 4 channels on the Bard Quartet, so I can bring in even another voice. It will be again delayed by one trigger, and we have 3-note chords. And again, this is just from one stream of random notes. And the Bard Quartet, of course, you can use an external or a different shift register module. There are some out there. But here you have this built in with the Bard Quartet. All this needs is a nice bass drone. Oh yeah. And that's it. I hope you will go and explore some of these techniques, and I hope that I could show you how deep the Bard Quartet is. Thank you again, Perfect Circuit, for having me. Cheers.